the world's super excited to see the new season of The Boys. It's an incredible show. I mean, it's such a powerful.
The Boys.
What? What do you mean?
What do you mean? What's that?
The Boys. Oh fuck, bro! I'm so sorry.
Wait, we've been doing an hour and a half.
No, I knew, bro. I swear, I knew.
You knew what?
I knew. No, it's Umbrella Academy, but
what?
It was the actors' strikes, and it was the actors and writers' strikes. And I was telling my buds, I was like, I have this crazy idea. What if we start a podcast and we call it the Sangre Mia podcast? Because I have a merch.
Yeah. As you can tell, sure. Yeah.
And I was like, let's do it. We're going to start the podcast, this and that, the Sangre Mia podcast. And then on my way to go shoot the podcast, I got this idea. I was like, no, I'm doing it wrong. I was like, it has to be called On My Pod. Obviously,
no shit.
The IP on my block.
Yeah.
And then I called my showrunner. I called Lauren Unerick, and I was like, hey, Lauren, I got this crazy idea. It's totally fine. You can say no. I don't mind. I'll respect your wishes. But it would mean a lot to me if I could do something called a podcast called On My Pod. Sort of like a throwback for the fans and kind of give them that closure that they keep, like any TV show.
Yeah.
It was like, when's season 4 coming? When's season 4? When? And it's like, it's coming. Ya viene. But when it comes and it's over, like it's over. Then it's not on me. It's a whole production. It's a whole ecosystem, and it's out of my control.
Yeah.
But this is in my control. So we shot that at my director's house, and yeah, I got to be completely honest with you. I didn't shoot an episode before you. You're my first guest here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wait,
You're my first guest here.
What about the other ones? I mean, in terms of, you mean
at the old studio, at the old setup? Yeah. But you're my first guest here on this new setup, bro. Yeah, man.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate.
You gotta be careful with these mics, right?
I appreciate the invite.
You're the first one we're shooting here today. I wanted to hit you with that while we were shooting. I was running late, that's why, and I had to set up. And I was like, David, I was interviewing somebody beforehand. 15 minutes.
Nah, so, don't worry about it.
So thank you for being here. I did want to ask. Podcast seems to have taken over the media nowadays.
Yeah.
As far as on social media. And pretty much everywhere you see, right? And I want to ask you, does it feel the same doing a podcast compared to doing press for like a TV show or movie? Because for me, I hate doing press.
Yeah.
I hated it.
Yeah.
And it's not because, it wasn't because I hated how it worked and all that stuff, but it was just, I never felt comfortable with myself on press. Because I was like, I feel weird. And 7 a.m. I'm tired. I don't even know who I am. I just shot this and that. But doing a podcast, it feels very relaxed. At least that's what I hope. But for you, do you feel a difference?
Well, you've done the podcast several times. So you've sort of, as you said, you have control over it, right?
Yeah.
I'd imagine, I think you feel this too, maybe, which is like press, it's like snippets. It's like you have 3 to 5 minutes, press junkets, social media interactions with whether it's big companies or small companies, but you're sort of, it's a very quick hello, goodbye kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so you sort of end up feeling very exhausted by the end because, we get into this business to connect with people. We get into this business to try to throw the ball and throw it back, throw the ball and throw it back, and when you go into press, you sort of feel like you're throwing the ball and you're not getting it back. You sort of feel like, I'm answering these questions, which is completely fine. When I first started and Umbrella first came out, I had to do a lot of press, and they sent us to Singapore, Brazil, London, Canada, Mexico, and I remember going to Singapore and walking down this hallway, and House of Cards was there, Narcos was there. Whoa. Yeah, I think Mowgli was there. They had sent Andy Serkis, Diego Luna, Michael Peña, myself, Rob Sheehan. And I remember walking down these hallways and I was so exhausted because we were on day 2 and it was 10 hours of just press. And about halfway through, I saw Michael Peña, and Michael Peña's like, "What's up? How you feeling?" And I was like, "Dude, I'm so tired," and I was in my own space of I'm an artist. What am I doing here? Pacino didn't promote. De Niro didn't promote. So I still had this chip on my shoulder. And Michael just says, just think about it this way. He said, "You're not getting paid to act. You're getting paid to promote." And just think about it that way. And then the moment he said that, it sort of clicked on me. I was like, oh yeah, because I would act for free. So being able to get paid is just a bonus. So yeah, of course, I'll promote. And so, flash forward to this thing where you're talking about podcasts. I think podcasts sort of allows us to throw the ball, and
go in depth.
In certain things that sometimes you feel like, especially during COVID, you go into these press kits and like over Zoom,
the
right?
virtual stuff.
Yeah,
it was so bad. Yeah. I mean, it's obviously we have to again play ball and it's what happens, but dude, it's not the same as this.
Yeah. Did you promote season 3 during COVID?
We did we got a chance to do the whole press run, the hotels and stay there and do all that stuff. We did oh no, you're right. Season 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it came out and then literally the day it came out, the whole world shut down.
Oh,
like literally 2 days later.
No way.
3. Yeah. Then pandemic happened, coronavirus spread everywhere. And we didn't even get a red carpet or nothing. I was so bummed, dude.
Wow.
I was like flying out my family and everybody was coming into town.
Oh, wait, so they canceled red carpet last minute?
Literally last minute, like 2 days before. And it was a bummer, yeah.
That's rough.
And then I had a film come out called R#J with Timberbeck Mamatov producing.
Oh, yeah, with Carrie Williams.
Yeah, with Carrie Williams. That's your boy, yeah. I texted you when I saw that script. I was like, Castañeda. Because one of the writers had your last name. I was like,
the lookbook.
Yeah, oh yeah, and that too, you were in there. But we did the entire press run for that film. It was my first film that came out at Sundance. And then I did the Sundance like virtual thing. And I was like, this isn't Sundance, dude. I was so bummed, bro.
Really?
I was really bummed, yeah.
Oh, man.
But it is what it is. We're back though. Now.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, back now.
And adding on to what you were saying, yeah, on a podcast, it feels like we can go into depth, Whereas when we're doing press, it's the same question over and I'll gladly do it.
Yeah.
Because, it's not hard work, but it's just, a little tiring to the brain.
Yeah. And also, like, if you think about, like, the person that's coming in, like, let's say, like, the 10th reporter's coming in, they're hearing that question and they're hearing that answer for the first time.
That's their first.
That's their first time. So, so it's very much this awareness of, like, okay, this is the 10th answer I'm giving of the same question, but this is the first experience they're having. And I just remember all the time about like how we make people feel sometimes is like more important than what we say.
Of course. Yeah.
So.
And I also like to think like our background, where we came from.
Yeah.
Obviously, our family's very hardworking.
Yeah.
So anytime I find myself complaining, I'm like, shut up.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
It's like, get it. You want to cry?
Yeah, exactly.
I'll give you a reason to cry. And you're like, oh, no, I'm just kidding, man. ¿Estás aburrido? Ponte a trapear, cabrón. He's like, oh, I'm sorry.
Exactly. Which brings me actually, so I'm curious on your background. Like, I've known you since 2017, but I feel like we haven't had a proper chance to sit down, chat in depth. And sort of get to know a little bit about your story for myself and for the audience too.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was at the chemistry read where I first remember seeing you. I think that was the first time, right?
Oh yeah,
you had like a little short hair.
I did, yeah.
You were a little slim. Now you're freaking buff.
No, I've lost weight right now.
Oh, you have? No, dude. When I saw you on that, you were like a little kid. You were.
Oh yeah.
You're probably what, like?
I was 19.
You were 19.
First year out in Hollywood. Yeah.
And you're what now?
I'm 26 now.
26.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Time flies, dude.
Jinx.
Whoa, wait, how old were you? You were 26 when
I was about your age.
Oh my God.
I was 27 when I did that.
Wow.
Yeah, I was 27.
Can we go into depth about what that chem read was for?
Oh, it was for On My Block. Yeah, it was for On My Block. I remember.
You were originally supposed to be Spooky.
I wasn't originally.
You were auditioning for the role of Spooky.
Yeah.
And it was either you or Julio.
It was me or Julio. Yeah, which really worked out, man. I was really happy. I remember like when he booked it, he sent me a message like a week. It might have been like a week or two later. He's like, "Yo, come to this I guess cabana in some hotel." I'm like, I'm celebrating because like the Netflix thing, and I was like, "Oh, dude, that's amazing." I couldn't make it because I don't really like parties, but I was like, "Oh man," obviously very happy for him and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it worked out because Ro Donnelly, who was she was an executive at Netflix. She was overseeing On My Block.
Oh wow.
Who also was overseeing Umbrella
Academy.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so she told me, I think it was like a pre-party for Umbrella after I had booked it, that she was like, we remember you from On My Block.
Oh wow.
And I was like, really? And she's like, yeah. She's like, so just obviously really happy that you're here now.
Yeah.
And it did. It changed everything, man.
It's such a small industry, right?
Yeah.
I always tell everybody that. I'm like, this industry, it looks big from the outside, but it's really, everyone knows everyone.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know Brad Pitt, but you know,
you know?
I know you talked to him, right?
I've met him before.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about.
I met him at the Santa Barbara International Film Festival very briefly, though. Very like high by basis.
Yeah. Well,
that's a trip.
Yeah, no, dude.
So let me ask you this, because that was a very significant day in my life.
Yeah.
And you know, obviously the domino effect, right?
Mm-hmm.
But did we get a chance to? I can't remember. My memory is so bad. We didn't get a chance to do a camera together.
No, we didn't. I don't. I wish I remember who my who
I remember.
Who was it?
Nephew.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, him.
Yeah. He's a great actor. He got a role that I was auditioning for too. And I finally got the chance. And then he went, "Bah, is mine."
You're like, "No, Diego,
damn.
no."
Yeah.
No, Diego, no. No, I remember it was just me and I guess myself, and then that's it. But I remember you guys coming out being like, "Oh my God, we felt it was kinetic." And I was like, "Cool, that's amazing." I
was doing that to psych people out.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Nah, dude, I always try to keep myself kind of
probably not my best, nicest move, but I was
that's fine. You know like we all have these sort of ways of
it just came out too. I was like 19 on top of the world. And
you don't have to apologize for that. I mean, like sometimes we need to have some sort of thing that gives us our edge. Because it's such a hard job. I mean,
for sure.
It's not hard doing it. It's hard having the opportunity to like make a living off of it. That's the hardest thing.
Totally.
But yeah, I don't even know what your question was.
Well, I'm just going down memory lane right now. I'm like, dude, we've known each other for quite some time, and this is really cool to be able to connect. So a little bit about your backstory of how you grew up, and because eres mexicano.
Sí, sí, sí.
De Sinaloa.
De Sinaloa.
Yeah. But I want to know more about that. Like, what the heck? You grew up there? You were born there?
I was born in LA. I was born in East LA.
Oh, okay.
And then when I was 7, you know, my parents, you know, they were working a lot of jobs. I mean, my mom she worked at a jewelry store. My dad worked at a noodle factory. But then eventually my dad went to construction. But through that sort of unstable work environment, you know, we had a very stable home, but we were always moving from like house to like living in my aunt's garage, living in my other aunt's 1 bedroom. So I ended up moving to like, I want to say maybe 10 to 13 different cities before I was 7 years old. So we were constantly moving. And then by the time I was 7, my parents weren't really raising us at that point. We had babysitters, and you know, I had cousins who were involved in gangs, and my parents were like, "Oh, this," and I wanted to wear high socks. I wanted to say, "What's up, fool?" You know, I wanted to act like the kids around the block. And then my parents were like, "Yo, we're not raising our kids. Like this whole system is raising the kids." And so my parents were like, they took a risk, and they were like, "Let's go to Mexico." So we went over there. We stayed at my grandma's for like a year in Sinaloa, El Fuerte. And then from that point, you know, my parents were hustlers. You know, they would do this thing. I think they called the Los Carros Chocolates. They would buy used cars in the US, and then they legalize them and send them to Mexico. And then they'd sell it for double the price. And they started doing that. And then eventually they opened up a burger restaurant. They opened up, my mom went
Mexico?
In Mexico. They opened up a restaurant. They opened up a burger restaurant. They opened up a thrift store. They opened up my mom went to school. She opened up a school of English.
Oh my gosh.
Bro, it was like,
that's incredible.
Yeah, there was a whole thing. Like my parents, I think when they came back to Mexico, they understood entrepreneurship. And so they understood not to work for someone else. They understood that like they sort of, I can imagine it's almost like they saw outside the matrix a little bit of like in terms of business.
Absolutely. 9 to 5, work for someone else.
Yeah, work for someone, or you can be your own boss, you make your own time, and you but that comes a lot of risk.
Of course.
You
know,
know, there's
risk, but the reward is infinite. There's no ceiling on it.
The reward is within yourself, right? It is, you're not reliant on anyone else. And so from that, you know, as a kid, you know, you're seeing that thing of like, oh, you know, can I work for this company or can I work for this little store? It's like, no, why don't you just here have this bike, sell it to your friends, you know? And that's when you start realizing, oh, wow, like there is other ways to make a living.
Totally.
Point is,
it sounds like your parents worked really hard. Like they got that. Like, and I see that's a common trait with a lot of, obviously, you know, Latinos, parents, especially like, bro, the generation before us, they work so hard. They didn't even need sleep, bro. My dad would get home at like midnight, be out of the house by like 4 a.m. off to work. I'm like,
can you imagine? Can you imagine this, right? Like, think about this way. Like, your family, you're in Corona, right? You live in Corona, and your family came from Mexico also.
My father came from Morelia, Michoacán, Mexico. My mom came from Quito, Ecuador.
Ecuador. Okay, so where did they meet?
They met in I want to say Downey or Anaheim, around there.
Downey. Yeah. Okay, so so it's SGV, Orange County.
Yeah, Southern Cal,
Southern Cal. And so, but did they both cross like through the desert, or they come in with like visas? My dad hid in his brother's car in the underseat. Like he just hid in, because I think his brother had like his brother. I don't want to butcher the story, but I'm pretty sure my dad's dad, so my abuelo, was working like the farms and all that stuff. So he had like that. I think it was like a green card that like allowed him. It was like a work visa almost that allowed him to cross the border and be there for a certain amount of time. And so did my dad's older brother. And so my dad's older brother was like driving under or over the border, and then my dad was in the back seat, just like under the seats. They had like a car. Yeah. I don't know how my mom did it. My mom doesn't like to tell me. No shit.
So really? I'm like, what'd you do, Mom?
Well, that's and I guess the point is like, you know, your parents, the risk that they would take for a better future to eventually sort of lies upon you, right?
Yeah.
And it's like that sort of mentality, right, that they've had, where they were like, we're going to go to a different country that doesn't speak our language, that doesn't even want us, and we're going to make a life out of it. And that mentality is ingrained in everyone, I think, of our parents, or especially our Latino parents. Like they just came and they're like, no. Like, and so we get angry sometimes when we think, oh, why aren't our parents changing? Why are they not evolving with the times and with us? It was because they had a mentality to survive. They're like, this is how we survive. This is how I feed my kids. This is how I make sure that like everyone in my family stays okay. You know? So
totally.
Yeah, I can imagine that thing. But like, imagine like I had uncles who spent 9 days in the desert crossing.
Wow.
Yeah. And like the stories that they would tell me, and I would think, and it wasn't like one time. It was like 3-4 times.
Wow.
And that's ingrained in all of us. Like you have that, you know, in certain genes. Obviously, you look at what you've set up.
Oh,
here,
yeah.
You know,
I was gonna say, I mean, I got my passport.
No. But you know what I mean, though. But you know what I mean. Yeah, we were like, dude, like you have the el motorcito.
It's that fire underneath us.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, no, for sure. Because it's one of those things where I'm like, dude, no one's gonna do it for us. You know, nobody's gonna come to your door and be like, "Oh, David, here's this great opportunity, and here's this and that." You know, it's like, dude, we have to grind and we have to do it ourselves. We have to build that reality that we want in our lives.
Yeah, aquí te va el tamal, mijo.
Oh, okay, I get that. Tamalito, okay, we all get that.
I'll take it. Okay. Like, how much is it? Oh, it's too expensive. Thank you.
So, as mentioned outside, I know you went to Cal State Fullerton.
Yeah.
So how did that come about? So you grew up in Mexico. When did you move back to the States? You said you were about 7 or 13?
No, I moved. Yeah, I was about 13 when I moved back to the States. Well, you know, at a certain point, you know, you know, you start looking around, and you know, it's a small town. It's a beautiful town, but you start thinking, okay, my parents specifically, okay, what's he gonna do? You know, like he's growing up, and he's an American citizen.
Yeah.
So they sent me first to the U.S. and I lived with my aunt in La Puente.
Oh,
like
wow,
right by Bassett, like right across the street from like
go.
Bishop Amand. And yeah, dude, it was like, you know, all these, I mean, I don't want to shout out any of the gangs, but like, you know, you show up and you're just like, kind of like, oh, okay, cool. And it's so normal for me because I was coming from that spot, and you come back to the US, and the best thing that you have is everything has air conditioning. There's McDonald's. My aunt has a pool.
Oh yeah.
There's grass everywhere. I mean, I was 13. I cared about Big Macs and
okay, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like as a kid, you know, like you're walking.
Oh yeah.
So I was excited to actually come back. Be like, oh hell yeah, I get to go to the movies on the yeah, you know, because my aunt had all these like shelves of DVDs, you know. Anyway. Yeah, so I came back and you know, immersed myself into American culture again, and you know, had to sort of learn all of the cultural norms that because you know, when you leave at 7 and you come back at 13, 14, it's a different world. You're talking to different people.
Mentality's just different. Hormones, dude, biologically, like scientific, like we're just different.
Yeah, we're completely different. And so to be able to interact with the kids there, I was like, what are the kids like here? You know, because over there I was like all about Dragon Ball Z, canicas, you know, like, you know, food, tacos, you know, hamburguesas, all these things. Yeah, so I came back, immersed myself back into American culture, and then I had a few options to go to college. I played football in high school, and I was like, okay, well maybe I want to go to New York, I want to go to Buffalo, or I want to go to Oregon to study psychology. And my parents bribed me with a car. They said, if you get a car, we'll get you a car if you stay local and you stay at the house. And I was like, shoot, yeah, dude. Okay. And I was like,
let's go.
Yeah.
That's the entrepreneurship right there.
Yeah, dude. And I was like, they were smart. They were like, oh, dude, we get him a car.
Were you a travieso? Is that why they didn't want you to go out too far away?
I was Mexican, bro. Like, that's, like a Mexican household. They're like, quédate hasta que te cases, mijo. Yeah. You know what I mean? So,
tráele la esposa.
Oh, tráete la muchacha pa' acá. And then when I bring him over, he's like, dile que se vaya.
Literally.
Yeah, no, I went to, then I went to Cal State Fullerton. I went there because my parents, everything is sort of influenced by parents when you're younger, right? Like,
for sure, yeah.
Eventually you sort of break away.
Did you do the whole like dorm thing? Like, I've never been to college. I went to, a lot of people don't know this, but I went to like the worst high school that, quote unquote, the worst. In
Which
my eyes, it was the best. It was called Levy Pollard in Corona, California. It was, quote unquote, the worst high school. Second worst, actually.
To what?
In my school district.
DeVry? What?
So essentially I got kicked out of my high school called Santiago High School. I got kicked out because I was always ditching class. I was always at the skate park.
Oh, you were the travieso.
I wanted to be a professional skateboarder, and I was on my way up. I'd like to say I was okay.
Yeah.
And I was just always ditching class. Dude, I failed Spanish class. And at the time, I'd like to say my Spanish was better than it is now.
Really?
And I failed because I just simply never showed up because I was always at the skate park. And I fell behind on credits. And then my options were either, drop out or go to a continuation school. So I went to a continuation school.
Yeah.
And I loved it. But I didn't get a chance to go to college after that. And I always had this chip on my shoulder. I was like, man, if only I would have went to college. And at the time, all my buddies, I'd always see on their Snapchat, college parties, the frats, all that stuff, man. And I was like, man, I feel like I'm missing out. And then obviously, life picked up, started working, and that was sort of my college. But I'm actually really curious, like, what was college like? Were you in a frat?
No, I was never in a frat. I'm telling you, I commuted. So like I stayed at my parents', and all I would do was just go to school and dude, I did so much when I was in college, but I wasn't the party guy. I partied. Okay. I partied
Which
outside.
Strikes me. I thought you were a party guy.
I was. Dude, trust me.
I thought you were like a crazy,
bro.
I'm go ham. Like,
not anymore, but I used to. But it was all my high school homies. I drink with them. We have kickbacks at the house. All these things. My mom would be like, "Oh, if you're gonna
corridos,
see, no, or more like, dude. I went through my EDM phase too.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, I went through.
Still. It's always EDM.
Oh, really?
It's either EDM or corridos, of course.
No. Ya me de la pinche cabeza con la pinche EDM.
Did you do raves?
Yeah,
when you were younger?
I did raves.
Escape and all that.
I did raves. I did like 4 or 5 raves.
Okay.
But honestly, you still do them?
No, I've done like 3.
Really?
Yeah, they're a little crazy for me. I'm like, I want to go home.
I'd rather just cook at home. Bro.
Yeah. And then your eardrums freaking go out and you're just like, you're home, you're like ringing. It's like,
you're all depressed. Like, oh man, what do I do with my life?
Oh man. So you had a blast then?
Yeah. But college was cool, man. But I want to know more about what this whole thing about. So you got kicked out of school.
Yeah.
You went to this continuation school.
Continuation school, yeah.
And so then how'd you find yourself into acting then?
It's strange. I actually I remember always being interested in acting. I took a theater class in like 9th grade, but I got kicked out of that too because I was just so shy. And obviously, there's like the whole food chain at school, right? Where it's like the popular kids and the popular girls and this and that. And I sort of never really saw myself wanting to climb that food chain. So I kind of became like a troublemaker, right? Me and my friends growing up at the skate park, we used to steal a lot. We used to, do a lot of pendejadas, bro.
Yeah.
We used to break into real estate houses before they were sold, while they were in the process of selling, or no, right, like after they got sold where they were empty, and we used to just throw parties in there. Looking back on it, I'm like, you are such an idiot. I'm like, what was I doing? But at the same time, I was like, man, it was fun.
Yeah. I mean, look, we can look back at like things that we did. And
yeah,
the last thing we want is to like scold ourselves for doing those things.
For sure.
Because trust me, like if I saw everything that I did in my past, like when I was a kid and I was still understanding like my body and the people around me and my parents and everything, I would be so depressed.
And I'm sure you think about this too, though, but I'm like, I used to not believe in luck. I was like, luck's not real.
Yeah.
But now looking back on like life, I'm like, yo, I could have gotten hit by a car that day. Or yo, what was that? I literally drove a golf cart like in the middle of a street when I was like 14 years old. And it was like a red light. And for like, thank God that no car hit us while I was with my buddies. On the golf. It was like, I've done the stupidest things.
You got so lucky.
And that's where I'm like, it was luck and it was God for sure. Like
100%.
there's no other.
I mean, at that age, you just feel indestructible. Like anything you do. Like I even remember like going to like flyer parties when I was in high school.
Oh, right? You remember those?
Yeah, of course. I mean, this is when
you wouldn't even know whose party it was.
It was just
like,
the MySpace days. It was like, oh, you know, a flyer party, and it'd be like Them Boys Throws presents paired with ENT
at a warehouse.
Yeah, crypto something, kryptonite, you know, crypto boys, you know. And so I remember going to these parties. And so often you just knew the threat of guns and shootouts was such a possibility, but but you become so like indestructible. You just think like, yeah, it won't happen to me. And I knew the difference of mentalities when me and my buddies, I must have been like 16 and we're leaving, it was in this neighborhood and we're leaving, you know, an SUV and we're sort of walking out and in front of us, we see like an SUV and just a bunch of kids. And they you can tell they're not from here because all of the neighborhoods in the SUV are mostly Latino. And they were not Latino, they were white. And they were like on their phone and they were like sort of crying. They were like, you know, and I can hear someone like talking to their mom and but they're like a block away. So we're seeing that happening. But in the midst of them and us, there's a group of people right in the middle. And they're almost like shadow and they're walking towards us, but we just keep walking. By this point, we know that when we go to a flyer party, when we used to go to flyer, we never had anything in our pockets. We literally left everything in the car. We're just,
of course.
So as we're walking,
does it make you throw everything away? Or take
and the shadow just gets closer and closer, and it's like these four homies, and they're just pulling, and they see us and like, yo, what's up? And we're like, oh, what's up? And they just pull out guns, all of them. They're like, what's up? What you got in your pockets? And immediately, you know, we were like, nah, I don't got anything, you know. And I obviously had like $3 because you pay like $3 to get into the parties. But I had it crumpled, right? And I just gave it to him. So here you go, take it. And he's like, oh, what's up? You know, but literally pulled guns at us.
Whoa.
But by the time they left, we were so normal. We were like, all right, like I got to go back to the car and get some more money to go into the party. And realizing that these kids were so, and obviously no perspective is right. I feel like it's what it is because in their minds, like, you know, I could imagine that they've lived such a wonderful life that they don't have to experience that. But in my way of looking at it, how lucky am I that I can experience those things and still have a clear way of thinking, you know, and I feel like living in those places and like you're talking about, you were like malcriado, you know, doing all these things. It's
I was
like
at the skate park 24/7. The skate park raised me.
Yeah.
People were playing dice every day. People were smoking weed, you know, doing drugs, drinking their Mickeys, their 40s, you know.
Yeah.
They was like, you want to swig? I'm like, dude, I'm 12. No, I don't want to swig.
But that does something, right? Like that.
I smoked my first pack of cigarettes when I was 11 years old. It was a Marlboro Red. I smoked 20 cigarettes on New Year's Eve when I was like 11.
20?
20. I didn't inhale it. I just like,
really?
I just felt like so cool.
Was it like a family party?
It was a family party. And that day I had beat somebody in a game of skate. And the offer was either I pay you, I think I was betting like $7 money that my mom gave me to go eat Wendy's. Or it was if I beat you though, you got to buy me a pack of cigarettes. And I was playing like some like 18 or 19-year-old at the time before the legal age of smoking cigarettes was 21.
When it was 11, when the illegal age.
and I beat him in the game of skate, right? Which is like horse for basketball, if you don't know, but for skateboarding. And yeah, and the dude was like, dude, he's like, I don't want to buy you these cigarettes, man. He's like, but if you really want them, like, fuck, like, I'll go get them for you, whatever.
Yeah.
And he got them for me. And then that day I went over to a New Year's party in, I think in La Habra. at my uncle's house, at my tío Beto's house, and I smoked a pack of cigarettes with my cousin Gerardito.
And you're not walking in at 11 being like your tío being like, "Hey, dude, you smell like cigarette."
It was like after. That'd be so funny.
It was like, "Oh yeah, saca la bolsita, mijo."
No, what it was is we smoked a pack of cigarettes, me and my cousin G, and it was like towards the end of the night, and essentially, I don't think I smoked all of them. I smoked like 10 or 12 of them, and then I threw them in a trash can, and then yeah, I think I told my brother because my brother smoked cigarettes at the time. My parents knew, and he was only 14 too. And
damn,
yeah, dude, he was smoking for years. He just quit actually.
Oh, good for him.
He had his baby girl and quit.
Good for him.
And thank God, bro, because that's no joke, man.
Yeah, de los 14.
Yeah, bro. And then I got my bro. I was like, hey, there's a pack of cigarettes in the trash can. And he's like, oh, hell yeah. He grabs it. He starts smoking it. My dad didn't care. He's like, pinche travieso, what are you doing? Slapped him. And he's like, don't do that around me. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just, you know, it's still, but that's how we grew up, the skate park, you know?
Yeah.
That was all I saw 24/7.
And that forms you, right? That
does.
That forms you
it's very risky, I like to say.
In a positive way sometimes.
Sometimes. Because I have a lot of buds who went down a certain path, and I have a lot of buds that did really well. And then there's me, who I'm just trying to figure it out.
You're doing pretty well. Dude.
I'm doing all right.
You're doing pretty well.
I'm doing all right. I'll be honest, this is one of those things where I genuinely feel like I enjoy the most sitting down and chatting with people. The podcast, I swore I would never do one, but then I get to hear the stories of like, you know, how you grew up and how all these people grew up, and I'm like, damn, it puts perspective into my lens of life. Yeah, you know.
Yeah, of course.
So how did that perspective for you change into acting from where you were growing up and how you were growing up? Like, what got you into acting?
Well, it helped a lot because the ability to shift and to try to grasp what's happening immediately, but also not try to coerce the situation to favor me. You know, and I think when it comes to acting, you know, one of the best things about acting is surrendering and allowing things to develop. And then you sort of, it's almost like catching a wave, you know? Yeah. And in life, I always felt like the moment you come in and force something is the moment that everyone sort of pulls away because they feel something off. They might not be able to tell like, oh, this person's being fake or they're insecure or all these things. But we all can feel sort of when someone's not being genuine. Yeah. And so when I'm coming in from Mexico and like, and obviously this I learned later, right? But like I already had this trait, which was, okay, what's popular now? Yeah. Oh, basketball, football, Raiders, Lakers. You know, what's the big movie of the summer, and like what are people talking about, and you know, girls and this and that, and so then all I did was listen. That's all I did growing up. All I did was listen when I came back to the U.S. because I didn't have anything to speak about. And when you translate that into acting, all you do is listen. Like the best actors listen. You know, and I love it because when someone says that, it's almost like, when you say that to someone, they go, like I'm listening to. And so we all do that. I do that to myself too. When like a teacher's like, oh, you know, it's all about the soul of the eyes. I'm like, you know, I'm trying to open my eyes. Like, you see my soul? But yeah, man. So that's sort of, I felt like that really helped and informed how I approach work. And never being able to, or sometimes just kind of slapping myself in the wrist of like, oh, I'm trying to get something out of this right now.
Totally, yeah.
And the moment I'm trying to get something out of it is the moment the scene doesn't work. You know, as an actor, as a character, you can obviously have your objectives and all these things. But as an actor, if I'm trying to get my moment, if I'm trying to get my angle, if I'm trying to do this,
oh, for sure,
then
it looks flat.
It looks flat. It looks controlled. Yeah. It's sort of the audience pulls back because they know like, oh, you're trying to manipulate me right now. Yeah. And those are the things that I've, you know, one of thousands of things that I've learned, but that was, I think, the biggest one that I didn't have to go to school to learn. I learned it in life. In life, yeah. Life's the best teacher, right? That's what they say. Yeah. I mean, I know who says that, like Wendy's and Jack in the Box. Wait, but how did you get into like acting, like getting the 8? Like, how did
did you study at Cal State Fullerton for film? Was it TV and film?
I studied TV and film for directing, and then I did international business.
So you were trying to be a director before acting?
Yeah. Well, I just didn't think I was good enough. Like, or just there were so many beautiful people on TV, you know, or in films and stuff, and I was like, I won't be able to do it. No, de veras, güey. I just thought like,
nah, ni digas.
Güey, de veras.
I saw you on the way here. A bunch of girls were like breaking their necks looking at you.
Bro,
like,
there was one lady.
6, 7.
There was one lady, and she was like 65. Right?
Hey, that counts. Bro.
Hey,
it's the experience. Yeah.
Call me. No, yeah, I wanted to study directing, and I think it was the easiest thing to convince my parents to let me go in that field.
Oh, wow.
Because directing sort of, you know, you have a hierarchical sort of space where you have directors, you have ADs, you have crew members, you have grips, you have lighting. Obviously, they're not all in order, right? But like, there is a day job. And my family was easy to accept that. And then eventually, you know, as I was doing short films, I did one short film called Mad Doggin', which I did it when I was 20, 21. And this guy named Terrence Houston, who was a phenomenal writer, director, and he cast me in it. And it was the short, basically, that sort of catapulted my career in the most subtle way in the industry, but more so like with the people around me, my family, that they were able to see like, oh, you can actually do something with this. Like NBC, after seeing that short, gave me a 1-year deal.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, 1-year holding deal after seeing that. Yeah, and I remember people being like, bro, you made it, you know? And I was like, I don't think I made it. But NBC Universal paid me for a whole year to like, to not work after seeing that short.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
That's incredible. So what inspired your, I mean, obviously, like emotionally, I know what inspired you to want to direct, right? Saying that you're not suave and handsome, even though I saw you break necks on the way here. But who was your inspiration? Like, what directors were you watching? Because before I started acting and like really being in the industry, I didn't know anything about directors.
Oh, really?
I didn't know. I knew actors. Who
was your favorite actor?
Oof, Benicio del Toro, DiCaprio, Al Pacino. Al Pacino, dude.
Al Pacino.
He's the man.
Yeah. I got to work with Benicio.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, you were in Sicario, right? Was it Day of the Dead or what was it called?
Dia de Soldado. So Day of
Soldado.
Yeah. So I got to work with Benicio.
Whoa.
Benicio was awesome.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite actors.
Bro, I mean, I was in cloud 9.
How was that? What was that experience like?
With Benicio, it was great. I ended up, so I saw the first film and I saw it 3 times in the cinema. I was like, this is, you know, obviously Denis directed. I didn't know who Denis was at that point, but when I got the audition for the second one, it was obviously Mary Renew who was casting it, but also Stefano Solima, who had done Gomorrah.
Oh, wow.
He, you know, I went in and auditioned, and it was the lines were sort of in English, but it was like, oh, can you translate it in Spanish? And I was like, yeah, for sure. And so I did the entire scene in Spanish. So I would walk into the room, just never speaking English. All I did was spoke Spanish, and that's where I started learning this sort of fluidity within what you can do with the character if you know it well enough that you don't have to follow the sides anymore. Like there's a freedom in that, and some people like that, some people don't, but I enjoy that. So when I started doing that, like sort of like not even sticking closely to the script, I knew the story points, but mostly just speaking in Spanish, and like I didn't really care this and that. I just connected with whoever was going to play my cousin. Got the gig, and then 3 weeks into shooting, I remember one of the producers sent me an email saying, "Hey, by the way, we Benicio wants to meet you." And it was a Sunday. It was a Saturday. He's like, "Can you meet him on Sunday?" And I was like, "Yeah, I don't have anything to do. I'm in Albuquerque. I don't live with anyone." So I met him, me and this other actor, Manuel Rulfo. We met him in this like little lobby in this hotel room in Albuquerque, and he walks in, and I'm just like, my heart's palpitating. Yeah, dude, you know, and he comes in with like a hat and like really cool and like sort of, you know, incognito, and he's like, "All right, you know, let's talk about the scenes," you know, and we're talking about the scenes, and he's telling me, he's like, "You know, I think your character could do this or could do that." So he was literally trying to give me notes and tips, and as a young actor looking at him telling me this, I was like, I was writing all of this down. Yeah, and he's like, you know, blah blah blah, and then, you know, because we were going to shoot our first scene that following Monday. And so anyway, fast forward to Monday, our scenes are until after lunch, and there was a night shoot. And I remember during lunch, like I went and got my food, And one of the crew members said, hey, Benicio wants to talk to you again. And I'm like, let me know when you're done with your lunch. I was like, okay, cool. So I literally just start wolfing down my lunch and I hear a knock on the door and I thought it was the PA trying to tell me like, all right, ready to go see Benicio. And I open the door and it's Benicio.
No
and he's
way.
Like, hermano. And I'm like, hey, he's like, ¿puedo pasar? And I was like, come in, dude. And he sits down with me, man. And like, I mean, I'm sure he won't mind me saying this because it's such an admiration to like who he is as an artist. But he sits down and he's like, do you mind if we run the scenes? And I was like, yes. And so we ran the scenes and he was so, I mean, all the stories that you hear about Benicio, about him like cutting out lines, so true. Like he was like, we had like a 3-page scene and by the time we were done rehearsing it, it was a page and a quarter. Oh, wow. He was like, don't eat this, don't eat. But because he was so, it wasn't like a, it wasn't like
dialed into the story.
He was dialed into the moments that were needed for the story to move forward.
He's serving the story, not serving himself.
Yeah.
Which is rare because usually actors like, give me more lines. I want more moments.
Yeah.
More of this.
And someone that's really focused on the overall picture of it understands that, like, you know, and if you look at, you know, the interviews with Denis from the first film, like he did change a lot of his character by not saying a lot. And it worked so well. So because he was doing that, I had the audacity to tell Benicio, I was like, Benicio, you know, you're saying that you're from Oaxaca in this line. And I don't believe that, you know, I think you should change it. And he was like, oh, really? Because obviously I'm, you know, Mexican, right? And he, you know, so he's like, oh, really? What would you change to? And I was like, honestly, I think you change it to Chihuahua because, you know, if you go more to the north of Mexico, you get a different complexity of Mexicans, you know, and you go more to the south, it's different. It's complejos diferente. And he was like, oh, okay. And he changed it. Wow. And that was what I'm saying. This is how, like, an artist who is willing to give and receive and be present and like remove an ego and be like open
and learn too. They're always hungry to learn.
Always. And
That's
I take that with me. So so after that, I remember like, I take all that knowledge from Benicio, right? Yeah. And I show up to pilot season was happening and I ended up testing for so many things that pilot season. I was like testing like every week for different things and I've never tested in my life.
Whoa.
So I tested 5 times during pilot season after that. And I was like, what's happening, right? And I remember one time I was reading with this director. It was a test with the studio. It was Fox. It was massive, right? And it was a big, big project. And I remember being in there in the room with all these people and the executives. And I'm looking at the lines. And this is my Benicio thing. And I shouldn't have said this, you know? But I look at these lines and I'm like, yeah, we need to fix this. You know, this isn't working.
No.
Yeah. And he's like, he's like, I don't need to say this. I don't need to say this. I don't need to say this. And I have a feeling I lost the role just by saying those things because they were probably like, this is going to be a guy who's going
to try to like
change.
Take the reins, steering wheel. And yeah,
because it's a writer's medium, you know?
Of course.
And I was, I was 26. You know, I was
that's hilarious, bro.
Yeah, but that's, you know,
that's a really cool story though, man. Wow,
Benicio's,
that dude's a legend, man. A legend. I will ask this: there is a conspiracy theory about him that says that he is also Brad Pitt. Can you confirm or deny this? They have conspiracy theories on TikTok, and it's so fun. I'll tell you what I think, but they literally have photos of Benicio and Brad right next to each other, and they're like, it's the same person. And I'm like, in my head, I mean, I'll share my thoughts, but what do you?
No comment.
No comment.
No comment.
Oh, shoot.
What's your theory? What's your
TikTok theories are real. My theory is that they're just different people, but they just look freaking similar. You know what I'm saying? But you know, kids, and they're like, no, that's his clone, that's his doppelganger, this and that. And anyway, guys, we can't talk about the Illuminati.
Yeah.
Let's continue, David.
Let's continue.
I'm kidding. What's going on, guys? Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode of On My Pod. I hope you guys are enjoying the episode. Really quick, before we go back to the episode, I want to touch on a topic that I get asked a lot about, and it's how did you start acting? Obviously, if you're watching this, you must have seen a show or a movie that I've been in and you want to tune in, or you're just a huge fan of the guest. Usually I have actors on this podcast. But anyway, the question that I normally get asked is, how did you start acting? And while I would love to answer that question for absolutely everybody, whether it's in Instagram DMs, on TikTok comments, on YouTube comments, or even in person when I bump into somebody that recognizes me, it was a very long process That being said, it's not just a simple answer. I really wish it was, but there's actually a lot of steps that you can take starting today from home to start your acting career. So my best tip, join my online acting school called The Actors Campus. Here I've literally provided you the clearest and safest blueprint to start your acting career. Inside of the Actors Campus, you'll be accessing over 50 hours of pre-recorded video lessons showing you exactly how to start your acting career from scratch, all the way from the craft side of acting to the show business and networking side of Hollywood. You'll also be getting access to join my weekly live classes where I will personally be teaching you guys each and every week, providing you insight from the industry, interviewing casting directors, producers, actors, directors, writers, and more. Inside of the Actors Campus, we also have a talent showcase where you are able to participate in some of the best talent agents and managers in all of the industry and potentially get signed and start auditioning for big gigs. On top of this, you'll also be receiving exclusive invitations to events held by the Actors Campus, such as movie screenings, Q&A panels, and essentially the whole goal of this campus and this community is to provide you guys the blueprint, the layout, and the support that I honestly just wish I had starting off. That being said, if you want to be an actor, check out the Actors Campus. I promise you, you won't regret it. All right, let's get back to the episode. Benny's one of my favorite actors. You said you rushed to theaters 3 times to go see him.
Yes, yeah.
I did the same thing with Edgar Ramirez and Hands of Stone.
That was
3
great.
times,
Yeah.
rushed in there. I was like, I want to be like that dude.
De Niro.
I want to act.
De Niro's in it, no?
Oh shit, yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Edgar Ramirez, I saw Edgar Ramirez, I was like, I want to do whatever he's doing in his career. Like that, those are the types of roles. I saw him in Point Break. I was like, I want to do a role like that.
Yeah.
Hands of Stone, I want to do a role like that.
Have you seen him in Domino?
Domino.
Mickey Rourke, Keira Knightley.
No, I haven't
You
seen
gotta watch that one.
Oh, I gotta check
I think
that
it's
one out.
Tony Scott. I think Tony Scott. That's a great film. That was the first time I saw.
Tony wrote that or Tony directed it?
I think he directed it. I'm not sure if he wrote it, but Domino is a great sort of pulpy action film where Edgar Ramirez is like the third lead.
Yeah.
And he's phenomenal.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, actually, he's just like the coolest.
I gotta check that
I
out.
was like, who is that guy?
Yeah. I bumped into him a few times. I've been too shy to say hi.
Oh, really?
I get so nervous, bro, like meeting people in this industry.
Nervous. I don't walk up to.
I mean, I
don't do it.
I do, and I always mess it up.
Really?
I'll like spill water on them or like
really?
like headbutt them or something.
Just like on purpose, just like, hey,
no.
And just keep walking. That's just me being nervous.
I'm like, show your dominance here.
Yeah, it's like headbutt.
No, dude, I always mess it up. But you know, being in this industry, obviously, you know, we've been in it for quite some time, and you know, a lot of people, they see the glamour of it. They see you on the show. They see you #1 show, Netflix, this, that, red carpets, all the glamour. But like, what were some of those moments for you, either starting off or being in it, like where you're like, man, this is, I guess, times of difficulty, where maybe you felt like giving up?
No, I never felt like giving up.
Okay.
No. The only reason I never felt like giving up is the moment because I was still living with my parents, is the moment that my parents would see me that I want to give up is the moment that I felt that I would be vulnerable enough to get my mind changed, to change into, you know, working with my dad's construction company and or figuring out like, why don't you just do this or do that? You know, I never was able to really go to my parents in that moment and say, I don't know if this acting thing is going to work out because, you know, I already felt like they were sort of waiting on the wings to give me advice to do something else. So I never allowed myself to feel this sense of I'm not enough to be in this business. Yeah. And also, you know, going back to like my family being entrepreneurs, like I understood that all you need is one chance to be able to go into that direction. Absolutely. All you need. And I had a great teacher. You know, he's a mentor now. His name is James Reese, and he always used to reference acting or this business as like making pies. And he would say, you know, it's like you're making a pie every day. You know, in terms of however you want to interpret that. Yeah. Every day you make a pie, and every day you set it by the window. Yeah. Every day, because it has to cool off. Yeah. Eventually, someone's going to pass by the window and smell that pie. And eventually someone's going to come and knock and say, did you make that pie? Sure. Can I get a slice of that? Yeah. And he's like, but you have to keep baking pies every day. And that was such a small note of perseverance that I never really allowed myself to like share it to anyone. Like, obviously for my own sake, did I ever feel like I wasn't going to? No.
I guess like what were some like difficult times for like that coming to the top of like for me it was I had to work. You know, I moved to Los Angeles, paying rent, split the rent with my best bud. I was working Postmates, I was working Wood Ranch, going to acting class. And it was, for me, that moment was losing like people I loved back home. As far as like friendships, kind of like going away, relationships, you know, with my ex-girlfriend, I was like 18, right? Like I just didn't have the time to I was like you, I had to be fully committed to this. Yeah. Right? Like your reference with the pies, I had the same one, but with pedos, right? It's like a fart. Like you fart, you get a good fart, and whoever walks by and they say, that's your
a good pedo. Damn, I was like, whoever acts that way, I want to meet them. Oye, ese tiene caldito, ¿verdad?
They're like, chorizo.
Oh my God. It's like, did you shit yourself? He's like, nice, good job, man.
Oh my God. Guys, if you meet a girl like that, if you're a fella out there, you better wife her up.
You better wife her up.
Wife her up.
And get yourself a diaper too.
Yeah, get yourself a diaper. But yeah, well, I guess what was like a moment where like, just because I feel like, dude, being in this industry, again, people see the glamour of it all. But I like when people are able to like, I just wish I had something when I was starting off where I was able to watch somebody and be like, and hear their story and be like, oh shit, thank God I'm not alone, man. You feel that too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, I've felt that all the time. I mean, I still feel it to this day, you know, like, but it's all, you know, like comparison is the thief of joy, right? So whenever I felt my most depressed is when I thought I should be somewhere else in my career. And when I was younger, you know, there would come moments where I'm like, I'd be so angry at the fact that I'm not being seen or hired or just, you know, even if I get a call back, like when I tested 5 times, right? I didn't get any single one of them. By the 4th time that I tested, I thought, well, God, you know, you've gone through, you've gotten my rejection through 3 tests. Yeah. The 4th one's got to be the one.
You're like, I'm still here.
It has to be the one.
I'm not going away.
It has to be the one. And it didn't happen. And then when the 5th one came, I was like, great, this is the one. That's it. That's it. Yeah. And then I didn't get that one either, right? And you're signing these contracts, and the contracts will say like
the money, dude.
The money, like it went from like I remember like, and this is what's even crazier was like the first contract, I think it was for like for an MTV show, right? And it was like $17,000 an episode.
Oh shit.
And I was like, wow, that's amazing. That's gonna change my life.
Yeah.
I didn't get it. And then the second test, 25,000. I was like, oh my God. The third test, and this is like in the span of like a few weeks, right? So the third test, it was like 30,000. The 4th test, it was like 35. The 5th test was like 40K. And I was like, okay, great. God,
sweating.
I got you, bro. I got you. And then, you know, and obviously you don't get those things, and you come out of it thinking, okay, is that ever going to happen again? Yeah. Am I, you know, the question of what did I do wrong? Could I do something better? Did I see something in a room how did I mess up my chances? Because at that point, you don't rely on anything but yourself of your outcomes.
Absolutely.
But I've had some really great inspirational people in my life, but also I've learned from watching people. Like, you know, growing up, my family would always say, like, you know, you can learn from experience, but you learn a lot more from watching people experience things. And so, like I used to work at a restaurant. You said you worked at Wood Ranch, right?
Wood Ranch, yeah.
Yeah, were you a host?
Yeah, I wanted to be a waiter. That was my plan.
But they put the pretty faces at the host, my boy. You know, I was a
shark bait there.
Yeah, I was a busser boy.
Cougar bait.
Yeah.
Oh, you were a busser boy.
I was a busser. I was a busser at a restaurant in Larchmont. And I remember seeing men there who were really nice to me, who had been working at the restaurant for 30, 40 years. Okay. And they had families, but this is their life, you know? And I was 23, 24, and me just sort of thinking like, oh, I know, I think these people are lovely and they're amazing companionship, and they're so funny and they tell great stories. And also, it's a reminder of I need to do what I love. And so being able to learn through those moments sort of was like a way that for me not to like end up doing something really dangerous that's going to affect my future. Sure. You know, like taking a massive left turn. Yeah. I've been pretty blessed, man, you know. Yeah. I was very, very lucky.
Of course. Yeah, man. It's you you know, when you're talking about the test deals and this and that, I do have a real reference, not the pedo ones. But
that's fine. I like the caldito one, though.
I do have a real one, and it's not you know, maybe it's a sensitive topic, so I hope I don't offend anybody, but because I've never been in those shoes and I've never met somebody with this situation, but I say this a lot to my friends. They're like, man, why do you keep because you know, you'll get an audition, you have to bail out on your 4th of July parties. You're like, dude, I gotta go meet the director. I gotta Zoom. I that's just our lives, right?
Yeah.
Last minute, like tomorrow, a director could call you and be like, hey, David, I Zoom this, that, you want to meet? And of course, like, dude, we're creatives, bro. We're hungry for it. Yeah. But the reference I have is like, it's almost like being a gambling addict where we keep going, dude. And we're not stopping and we keep going. And maybe we hit big, pero luego queremos más, bro. And then we want more and we want more and more. And I think for me, a trick for me that's been helping me is like, dude, calm the fuck down, bro. Like, calmadito, bro. I just had my best friend pass, bro. He's 26, graduated from the police academy, battled cancer, leukemia for 2 years. And at 28, he just passed, bro. We buried him last week, bro.
I'm sorry, man.
And it was one of those things where I was like, what am I complaining about? My body works, I'm healthy. I have the ability to create. It's all there. I have everything I need to get everything I want, right? But I have everything I need. The want is the cherry on top. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things where, especially as artists, because I mean, the fact is we're just hungry and we're trying to work all the time, right? All the time. I would work 365, dude. But it's one of those things where it's like, take a step back, bro. You're good, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Estamos bien.
Estamos bien,
carnal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
And I think that's been helping me out lately. You know what I'm saying? Taking that step back.
I'm sorry to hear that, man.
Appreciate it. For you, what's that step back for you? Like, what do you do besides acting? Like, is it painting? Is it dancing, cumbia, salsa? What is it? I feel like you're a good dancer.
I'm a good dancer. Yeah. I'm all right.
How did I know? I knew.
I know. My mom got us to learn. She got us to learn salsa when I was like 15. Actually, I was 18 from my sister's quinceañera.
Oh, nice. Obviously. Yeah. Chambelán.
Yeah, chambelán. I was the chambelán of honor. But
nice.
I do a lot of writing. I do a lot of poetry. I do painting. That sort of helps me with, and I'm physically active a lot.
Yeah. You look good, bro. You look great.
Thank you. You too, man. Yeah.
Get your Brad Pitt in Fight Club, dude.
Ay, cálmate, güey. I'm just kidding.
Bring that old lady in here.
Doña, venga para acá. Dar los tamales. Yeah, dude. I try to spend as much time as possible with people that like my friends and my family. Yeah. I still have my friends from high school, you know?
Okay.
And thankfully, you know, the people that got offended by how persistent I was and how laser focused I was, you know, eventually they kind of fall off and it makes sense, you know, but you know, the people that are really there for you, they'll just sort of stay at the wing, you know, and they'll be like, hey, whenever you're back, let me know.
Yeah.
I mean, my cousin, who I was supposed to be the best man at his wedding, I couldn't make it because I was shooting Sicario.
Oh, wow.
My cousin didn't care.
Yeah.
My cousin was like, bro, that's fine. You know what I mean? Like, go do your thing. Yeah. And that's sort of the mentality that when I have those people around, you know, it humbles me because they don't care how successful I am. They just care that I'm doing okay and that I'm not asking them for money.
Yeah.
Like they're just like, oh, you're good, you know? So I like to keep that sort of vibe around because they don't know anything about the industry. And a lot of my friends that I keep really close, they're not actors. And that sort of allows me to like not think about that.
Yeah.
24/7 and things like that. But
for sure.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of what you're saying is like this thing of like, you know, we are enough and what we have is enough. And and the only time we start feeling like, oh, am I not enough? Do I need more? Is when we start seeing other people and the outlook that we have at seeing those people, you know, that's when we start noticing if we have something inside of us that is missing, that is not conducive to the outer world. It's like, oh, what inside of me is telling me that I need to have another drink or smoke a cigarette or go out with another woman or book another job because of validation. And in the end, I sort of start realizing for myself, at least, is that like, oh, I'm a storyteller. That's what I love. I love to tell stories. I love to tell you a joke or to tell you how my day was. And I want to know about how your day was. And through those things, then everything else seems a little bit more pure and less static, static.
Absolutely. I was gonna say I do get a sense of that even just based off of your social media. Like you don't even take it too serious. Like you post funny things on there. Every time I see your stuff, I start cracking up. And I'm like, because some people take social media so freaking serious, They're like, oh, look at me modeling. Here I am. Yeah. Even I'll catch my ass. I'm like, damn, what am I doing? This is so corny posting this thirst trap. I'm like, wow,
bro, but you're that age, bro. You gotta...
But what I'm trying to say is like, where does that come from? That sense of actually genuinely caring about others, how they feel, making them happy. Because I'll be honest, a lot of, especially actors, they don't have that. You have that. You have that curiosity and that genuine, like, we can tell that you're genuinely curious and you care about others. It's a rare quality to find with actors because sometimes it's all about them,
me. Yeah. Oh, I appreciate you saying that, man. Likewise. I feel like you have there's, your station in life is not an accident, right? Like everything, you've sort of been able to implement it all to be able to sort of survive and thrive in this space. Yeah. In my own sense, I feel like it didn't come, it came from obviously the love that I got at home. Mm. I had great parents, I have great siblings, and I was an older brother. I'm the oldest. So I had to be an example. Now, good and bad, you set an example for your sisters and for the sort of like, lead by,
of course.
Yeah. Would you want your sister seeing that you're doing that? So I started always sort of seeing myself from the outside of like, oh, is this okay? Should I not do this? And at first it's good, but there's a balance because then eventually you sort of build yourself in a box. But what really came out of it is like putting other people first. It was always like, cool. And when the other person puts you first also, that's when really good magic starts happening. Sure. Because we can put someone else first, but if the other person doesn't have the same intention, you get drained.
For sure.
Very quickly.
Yeah. Even with acting too. Yeah. When you're serving your scene partner, you're giving them gifts and the scene just flows, dude. And then you get like a badass scene. You're like, wait, what happened there? Yeah. It's because you didn't make it about you, made it about them.
Yeah. Always about them. Yeah. And that's a great acting practice. Always. Yeah. Whenever you're getting in your head and you're thinking, what should I be doing? What are my hands doing? Just look at the other person's hands. Yeah. Look, that's when I was working with Benicio, the first scene that we did together, the first take, that man looked through my eyes, went down my body, down my toes, sucked my soul out with his eyes. And I was like, I'm going to die. I was like, this man has no distraction. Yeah. He's not in his head. He is with me and he's looking through me. And that's a terrifying feeling when you're first experiencing that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a different level of present. I like to say. There's some players in this game who are there, dude. And you can tell when the other guys are spaced out somewhere else and they're saying their lines. Hello, nice to meet you. And it's like, but when someone's dialed in, bro, it's scary.
Did you ever have someone like that you were like, you're like, oh man, you're so, I've never realized how present you are. That sort of changes the dynamic of how you see everyone else.
Not so much my scene partners have all been great, but somebody who really carries a very like strong presence is my buddy Brian Ortega from the UFC.
Oh, really?
He has, when he walks into the room,
you know,
bro.
Really?
The lion has entered the jungle there. You know what I mean? Yeah, so he's but he's the sweetest dude, man. Yeah. So nice. He's like you, bro. Always busting jokes, always curious. But yeah, man. I like to surround myself with individuals like that. Yeah. Because I'm the younger brother. I'm not the older brother in my family. I have 2 older siblings, but you said you have 2 younger ones.
Yeah, 2 girls.
So, okay. So I'm curious on that mentality. I wonder if that's played a major impact in your life. I'm sure it has.
Yeah, of course. Women. There's it's a household full of women. Okay. Aside from my dad, but it's like you learn how to, like, I have a really good way of communicating with women because I learned how to thrive in an environment full of estrogen. Okay. I just, and so
it's your habitat, every day.
It's like my sisters be arguing and fighting and my mom, and then me and my dad be like, it's like, what do you do? ¿Quieres otra? You know? So
Sure, yeah.
I mean, how did that? I mean, because you're the baby, right? Were you sort of?
I was the baby.
Were you?
Yeah.
I mean, I always feel like the baby is like the least. The parents are least concerned about the baby. You know, because they've sort of gone through the ringer with the first one and the second one.
You know, I would like to say that they were least concerned with my middle brother, my brother Luigi.
Really?
Yeah. And I would say they're most concerned with my older brother, Victor. And I was sort of like sometimes, you know, my brother got sent away when he was really young. He got sent away when he was like 14, 15.
Oh, wow.
So he got sent away to a boarding school. It was either that or juvie. So he got sent away.
Luigi?
No, Victor, the older one. So that's where all of their attention was really growing up. And then Luigi sort of was that brother that like did whatever he wanted to do whenever he wanted to do.
Nice.
You know, he was out about, you know, skate park, parties. He lived a really fun life, you know. And I was sort of always like in the corner kind of peeking at what he was doing, you know. I got to go to the skate park, but my mom would pick me up at like 9, 10 p.m. every day. And I'd have to go home. Whereas my brother was like, all right, I'm going to go sleep over at my friend's house. I'm going to do this, that.
Yeah. And they're like,
so
okay, cool.
He got that liberty, you know. But,
what's the age difference between all three?
My brother Luigi is 31. I'm 26. And my older brother Victor's 33.
Okay, so pretty close.
Yeah, pretty close. Yeah. But I guess one of the benefits of being the younger sibling, and people could probably relate to this, is like having older siblings, is you get to learn from their experiences. Like you were saying earlier.
Yeah.
It's like I took mental notes. I was like, oh, with dating, with life, with business, this, everything, trouble. I was like, okay, don't do that. Don't do that. Do this. Don't. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I couldn't imagine being the older sibling, to be honest. I feel like that'd be a lot of pressure for me. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to today's episode of On My Pod. Today, I want to share something special about a company that I've been personally working with for the last year and a half. Chic Shoes. Chic Shoes has given me the amazing opportunity to do meet and greets at their stores across the US, allowing me to connect with the most incredible people, my fans. Or, as I love to say, mi familia. Your support and love every time I visit a new state or city with Chic is overwhelming. And I just want to say thank you. Chic Shoes isn't just about selling shoes. They're about making a real impact. They hire Latinos and African Americans, offering jobs both in their retail stores and at their corporate headquarters. They also give back to feeding families on Thanksgiving, bringing communities together, and providing resources to those in need. Chic is an awesome store that offers both online shopping and same-day pickup at their physical locations. If you're looking for some cool clothes and shoes, check them out at chic.com. Shop with purpose, knowing that you're supporting a brand that truly cares about its people and community. All right, let's get back to the episode. So obviously, you know, it's in the trades. You are playing Chalino Sanchez, the iconic Chalino Sanchez. That's a fucking iconic role.
Yeah.
And obviously King of Corridos, as they say, right?
Yeah. El rey del Narcocorrido.
I don't know too much about his backstory. So for myself and for the audience, who was this guy? Besides, you know, obviously,
well, I think if anyone knows about Chalino, they know so many things about his story, his family, his son, you know, and the things that he sort of went through, but how he sort of defined a sort of a subgenre of music that I think a lot of people had were sort of afraid of tapping into. You know, he sort of really brought it to the mainstream.
Yeah,
and it's been. You know, I've known about Chalino since I was living in Sinaloa.
I was gonna say, was Chalino from Sinaloa?
Yeah, he's from Sinaloa.
Oh wow.
Yeah, Rancho Las Flechas in Culiacán. Yeah.
Oh whoa.
Yeah,
okay,
which is even crazier, you know. And I remember when I got sent over the script, I read it and I was like, well, actually my agent was like, you know, there's a script, Chalino, but I want to read it first, you know, before and I was like, send it. I was like, don't even send it. I was like, I don't care if you read it, send it. Because usually they'll read something and then if it's good, they'll sort of send it over to me. But I was like, I don't care. I want to read it first. And I read it and I met with Jesus Zelaya, who's the writer-director. And now he's a dear friend of mine. You know, we've gotten really close, you know, because that role came before the strike.
Oh, wow.
So I've been working on Chalino since 2023, like, early August.
Whoa, dude.
Yeah. So it's been a lot. So I've been very blessed to be able to just study about him, you know, and just to, you know, just to clear up at this, I don't know when this is going to air, but at this point it's still, you know, we haven't signed anything yet. So it's
but you've been doing your homework as the actor.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you have to, bro.
Of course. And
so many actors, they wait. They're like, oh, once I start, it's like, nah, bro. If you're a real artist,
the moment
you put in the work.
Bro, the moment the offer was on the table,
yeah,
I was like, I'm saying yes to this. So I'm gonna start doing work now.
Yeah.
And we've been just having chats and conversations about, you know, who it is, what's the story they're telling, and it's really exciting.
That's awesome.
Bro. I mean, when
awesome.
when my grandma and my grandpa know about him, and they grew up, they sort of raised his kids. I mean, their own kids with CHALINO SANCHEZ in sort of in the atmosphere. It's like it's a beautiful moment to, like, when I go back to El Fuerte and Sinaloa and sort of be able to try, because I don't think anyone could do Chalino justice. I really do believe that man had his own legend and its own essence and its own power and presence.
Yeah.
I'll never be able to reach what Chalino did in that film. But what I do have is I have an incredible amount of respect for that man and for his family and for the whole story. And I trust trust me. And when I tell you this script is one of the best scripts I've ever read. Oh
shit, dude.
Bro,
let's go.
Bro.
Let's go.
No te lo voy a decir más, pero vas a ver que te va.
Well, I do want to correct you on that because, dude, you are so talented, bro. Oh. You are such a talented actor and a real artist, which is very few in this industry. You are about it, and I know for a fact you will do this role justice, and I'll be the first one in theater to watch this film, bro.
Thank you.
I'm being so serious.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, bro.
That's nice, Diego.
But you know, if he has a primo, you know, just shoot me a call.
No te preocupes. No, trust me, like, because when I read the script, there's so many like things that in my brain, dude, it's gonna be for the culture. It's gonna be,
of course, especially in a time like right now, right, where, you know, for a long time, and I'm not saying this in a negative way, but for a long time it was Puerto Ricans on top with the music flow. You know, and rightfully so, dude. I love reggaeton.
Oh man.
But it wasn't the corridos, all that stuff that's blown up.
That was for adults. That was for like the tios, the tias,
and it's interesting to see now it's blown up like crazy, dude. Nathanael, freaking Peso Pluma.
I was listening to Peso Pluma's new album on the way over here.
Oh yeah,
it's so good.
Same, bro. Yeah. It was Exito.
I don't know, but I was listening to the song Hollywood.
Oh yeah. That
song.
one's fire, dude.
Yeah.
But what's the album called? It's like Exito. I feel like an idiot. Sometimes I can't pronounce words.
Yeah, I don't even know.
My brain doesn't.
I don't know the album. I wish I knew the album. I know the cover. That's.
Oh, okay. Yeah. He did a song with my boy Ivan Cornejo.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Ivan Cornejo is a G.
Wait,
his music so good too.
Ivan Cornejo? No, that's not the guy that did Hollywood, is it?
He might have. They do have a song together on that album.
It's a beautiful song. I hope. I mean, maybe it's that one. I'm not
sure. Okay.
If I don't, I'm sorry.
So dude, obviously the time where I'm going to drop this, I'm probably going to drop this around when Umbrella Academy season 4 comes out. So I'm really excited. Obviously, dude, you've been on a part of a hit Netflix series for 4 years, man. And honestly, man, that's fucking huge, man. I always trip myself out. I'm like, I feel like Netflix is the original the new like theater, the new blockbuster, because everyone has it, right? So to have eyeballs on you from all around the world for the last 4 years, and now it come to an end. Yeah. I mean, what is that? How is that? Is it bittersweet for you, or what? How does that feel?
It's like graduating high school.
Oh, okay.
You know?
Oh, whoa, okay.
Because we all started at this level when Netflix was still. I mean, this is pre-streaming wars. This is like Disney Plus,
before HBO Max,
before
Disney
Hulu,
Plus,
Paramount Plus.
They were like just starting. You heard rumors.
Was just Netflix and Amazon. They were sort of like.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, so we had now look, getting a Netflix show, I think it's a big deal for anyone,
of course.
But back then, it just felt much bigger.
Oh, way bigger,
because you knew that. You were in the echelons of like House of Cards, Narcos, bro. You were in the echelon of, you know, Netflix was only doing things that you know was going to reach a worldwide audience. Yeah. And now obviously there's so much content that they license shows and you know, and I'm sure it's very profitable for them to do that. But back then, to get a Netflix show, it was like, oh, we're taken care of now.
Yeah, bro.
We're good. and I got that role in 2018. I never met the showrunner. I never met any of the actors. I was only turning in tapes because I was doing one film. I did a film I was doing a few films. So I was doing I was in Calgary shooting a film. Then I went to Bulgaria shooting another film. And so while I was in these places, I was just doing tapes.
Yeah.
You know, they were just like, can you tape for Diego? And I was like, okay. And I did the tape. And they would just come back and be like, can he be funnier? Can he be funnier? And I don't understand what funny meant, because I was like, the way it's written, he's just written really pissed off. And I'm like, how do I make this funny? And, you know, through time, it's somehow the writers,
is that the writer texting you right now? Yeah. No, hey, don't talk about season 4.
Yeah, this is what I'm getting right now. And so at that point, I ended up, you know, I didn't even test for it. That's what's even crazier. I didn't even. I got a call from my agents. You know, I had just landed from Bulgaria like the day after finishing wrapping this other movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Oh shoot!
Yeah, and I get to my apartment and I get a call and they were like, "You're gonna be on Netflix." And I remember yelling so loud, like it wasn't even like a happy scream. It was like a pissed off scream, because remember I tested 5 times.
Yeah, bro. Yeah,
so this anger inside of me that I was been so angry with that whole process, and it was just coming out in that moment. And and I remember going and doing like the rehearsals, you know, meeting everyone, and I'm like, oh my God. And we were all kids in a certain way.
Sure.
And this is 2018, and Steve Blackman, the showrunner, comes up. He's like, "Hey, David, I'm thinking about giving Diego a stammer. What do you think?" And I'm like, "I'm all for it. I love character things." And he was like, "Okay, great." And I told one of my reps, and I was like, "Hey, by the way, I think they want to give me a stammer, you know?" And the first thing my rep was like, "Are you sure about that?" And I'm like, "Why?" It's like, "This is your big debut, bro. Like millions of people are going to see this. Can you pull that off?" And I was like, and at that point, I sort of had to have a chat with them, and I said, "Hey, look, I need some like positive support right now. I don't need you to question if I can do a stammer or not." But it was one of those things where, you know, everything happened so fast after that. I had no idea it was going to be this big. Yeah. No idea.
It's fucking huge, bro.
I had no idea.
Worldwide, it's huge, man.
Yeah.
People watch from all around the world.
Dude, when I was in Budapest like 3 weeks ago, or 4 weeks ago, and people knew who I was. I went
all across the seas.
I was in Croatia. People knew who I was.
Of course,
it was bananas.
So let me ask you this, because I touch on this topic a lot on the podcast. Success is it's a very strange terrain, especially in our industry. For you, what were some of the challenges that you had to face with this newfound success? Right, not to say that, you know, this was your first set, because for me, my show was my first set ever. Like I did like a co-star line on Teen Wolf, but I was still so green. Yeah. But how did it feel like? Were people coming out of the woodworks, ex-girlfriends, tias? You know what I mean? Like, because for me, dude, all that shit happened. Like, relatives, girls.
And how did you deal with that?
I blocked them all.
Oh, you did?
I was like, peace.
You know, I at first,
not the tias, but
no, only the tias. At first, man, I think for myself, I have this rule: when you find this newfound interpretation of the world, it's how you interpret yourself, right? I'm still the same person, right? My limbs, thoughts, all these, you know, circumstances might change. The world might see you differently, but sometimes I think the first 16 months, I would say. Sorry.
No, you're good, bro. You're good.
Sorry. The first, no, pinche café, güey.
I put tequila in your drink, bro.
¿Sabes cómo me pongo? ¿Para qué me invitan, güey? So the first 16 months, I would say, there's a shift that happens in your brain, which is, okay, how do I navigate this? Who am I? Who am I to people? People are coming up to me, and that's forming a different identity of who I am. And so it becomes a little bit more like, okay, what are the people that I really look up to? What are they doing? Oh, well, they're posting less, or they're being more private, or doing this and doing that. And they're being more serious about, they're being more earnest about things. They're being this. And so what happens in that moment, I think for myself, you deviate a little bit in trying to control all that. Yeah. You know, you're trying to control, because I had people coming out of, you know, of course, out of the woodwork and being like, "Oh man, I taught you, you know, for a week and so and so. I'm so proud that, you know, blah, blah." And at first, do I get like a little bit of like, "What? You didn't teach me this, blah blah." But as the 16 to 12 months sort of wear off of this like self examination of how I should behave with people, you know, because that is part of myself of sort of telling myself like, oh, you didn't raise me or you didn't teach me. So and so taught me. Get away from me. And then as that goes away, it's like, actually, I'm sure there was something that I learned from them, and I'm sure I start seeing their perspective a little bit more rather than
just proud to like have known you.
Yeah, and rather than me taking,
I knew him.
Yeah, rather than taking
se
it.
echó un pedo en mi cuarto una vez.
Sí, me escupió en la cabeza y dije, wow, qué decisión de actor. And then, so then I think like, oh yeah, I should eventually after that time period, like it sort of reverts back to like, well, actually, what got me here? How did I get to this point? And how do I honor that? Because all of this thing of like taking this thing too seriously, or like I need to use my voice or my platform because, and it's like, that's not true. I mean, at least for myself. For
yourself, sure.
For myself, because
you have to be honest with yourself.
That wasn't who I was before. Like who I was before was someone who cared about people.
Yeah.
People in close proximity to me,
of course,
was open, receptive, wanted to learn, curious, and didn't take things too seriously and always adapted to things. And so now I get this newfound success. The first thing I want to do is like, oh, don't record me. Oh, do you want a picture with me? And I don't even like that about myself. I was like, why am I trying to behave this way? Oh, I told myself that this is how I have to behave to maintain success now. And that's not true. You know, this is a facade that we've sort of built through social media and through exposure, that we think that our lives are more important than someone else's. So therefore we should control everything in our proximity, where control is completely elusive. It does not exist. You know, obviously you can't control putting on your shoes and stuff, and that's a whole different thing. But in terms of circumstances, like surrendering to it all, there's a power and a comfort. Like, for example, anyone that's an alpha that can walk into a room and like take space and be comfortable enough to let other people take space. That's a skill of surrendering.
Of course.
Because you're not trying to impose yourself on other people. If anything, you want other people to shine.
Of course. Yeah.
And that's, you know, in terms of people coming out of the woodwork and trying to do these things, I mean, yeah, it was funny, you know, and most of my experience was watching my parents have that thing, because they went from like, oh, you're, you know, oh, David is your son, right? And now it's like, oh, you're David's parents.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean?
Way.
Like, they were like, oh, esos son los papás de David y David Castañeda. Instead of like, oh, David Castañeda, oh, tienes un hijo que se llama David. No. And
your parents, that's so funny.
So my parents can go to Mexico, and for the first few years, they would like, that would be a topic of conversation. Like, oh, have you seen the Umbrella Academy? That's my son.
Oh, wow. And
people would go crazy. Oh my God. You know, and they liked it. But then I told my dad at one time, I was like, hey, Dad, I was like, do you ever notice that like when you do say that, you can find yourself filtering your words a little bit more? Like people are really trying to dissect everything you say. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, how does that make you feel? And he's like, and I was like, well, it makes me feel a little bit more closed off. And I was like, so isn't it nice when people don't know?
Absolutely.
Isn't it nice when people just you can just say that
and they don't care.
They don't care.
Take you up.
Or they don't listen to you. And you're like, oh man, I thank God they didn't listen to that.
Yeah.
I said something really dumb.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's sort of how, you know, it came.
You know, my girlfriend, she goes to Cal State Fullerton, and she was telling me that when she was going there, I think your show had just came out. And you went to Cal State.
I did.
And today she's like, you're interviewing David. They're like, dude, my entire college was like, holy shit, David Castañeda from Umbrella Academy went to our school.
No, really?
So that's really cool, man.
That's
man.
Cool. Oh, that's nice. I mean, Kevin Costner went there too.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he did. That was
okay.
So Kevin Costner was, you know, and Matthew Libicki, I forget, I'm going to chop up his last name. He did the DP for Black Swan.
Oh, shit. Okay. Incredible, man. Yeah. Well, shout out to Cal State Fullerton. Got some legends coming out of there.
Shout out to the Tuffy the Titan, my boy.
So, you know, obviously this is season 4. Where would you say your character sort of goes in this season that you can share with us? Like mentally, emotionally, not into specifics, but like, and what was that process like for you shooting this last season? Season 4.
Yeah, obviously, if this is coming out after the season, then I can very much speak about it a little bit more.
Sure.
Well, I think it was about finding acceptance in the place that he's in that moment. Because he's married, he's got these kids, he's sort of living like a 9-to-5 job, and he's resentful of his wife and his kids, and trying to, sort of, if anything, find a way to escape, but he can't. You know, he's put so much pressure that he needs to be a father in this world now because he has no powers. And so the journey, I feel like it's about finding peace and sort of finding happiness within our circumstances, because, you know, sometimes that's all we can do. Is find peace within our circumstances to be able to at least find the joy, the pockets of joy. And that was a big thing for Diego this season, is about trying to find himself. Because he had lost himself. He had sort of given everything to his family and he forgot really who he was. And
he's searching within instead of without now.
Outside.
He's sort of forced to, right?
And the show, as it goes along, you start seeing that change. You start seeing his self-worth come back, and it's sort of a vague thing. I mean, it's sort of a vain thing that, you know, when he's able to get these powers back, he is finding validation, but also not true validation, because it's not until he sees someone else be miserable for not being with his family that he sort of comes to that realization of like, actually, like, I don't even need my powers. I just want to be with my wife and my kids. You know?
And no, for sure.
And it was funny because you haven't seen it, so I'm spoiling it for you now. But bro, yeah, and it was great, man. So, and it was really fun because when we walked into the beginning of the season, you know, Blackman was like, David, do you want to go De Niro with this? And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, because, you know, you start fat. And you know, in the later episodes, there's a massive fight and you're going to be naked fighting. And he's like, do you want to be, and I was like, so you have an option, you know, because obviously we can either put you in a fat suit or you can get fat. And I was like, man, I'd love to get fat, you know, and I was already really heavy coming into the season because I knew he was going to start heavy. So I was like, I was like 20, 25 pounds overweight. And so but then I thought, you know, I'm going to be miserable for the next 5 months if I do this, because eating changes everything.
Oh, absolutely changes your mood. Your
yeah,
mind,
it changes everything. And you're just like, you just feel like shit every day. And I was like, do I really want to? So I proposed to him. I was like, what if his powers sort of take him back to like pre-season 1, like fucking ripped? And he was like, you think you can lose all this weight by the time we get to this moment? I was like, yeah.
Oh, shoot.
And so that transition physically was like really fun. So like from the beginning of the season to then by the time we shot like this massive fight in like a very big stage where like my clothes get ripped off and like I'm like fucking ripped. I was like, I had about 3.5 months.
Oh, wow, dude.
To get super jacked.
While you were shooting?
While I was shooting.
How'd you manage all that,
Well,
bro?
I hired this phenomenal nutritionist named Aaron, who was Henry Cavill's nutritionist for Superman.
Man of Steel.
Oh, do you know Aaron?
Oh, no, I don't know him, but I know the movie.
Well, it's a she. But Aaron. Wow. Yeah, she's awesome. But anyway, she was like on the daily, like we were like constantly sending me like, this is what you got to eat, this is what you got to remove, all these things. And I had a personal trainer.
No more enchiladas.
Shout out Bobby.
No more tamales.
No way. Nah, puro pinche oats, oats and fucking Greek yogurt and like plain chicken and like
broccoli.
Yeah, and it was, bro, but like it was one of the most exciting things because, you know, when you're working 12 hours a day and then you have to find the time to work out an extra hour before or after the gym.
For sure.
I mean, after the set.
After set,
yeah, but it was all worth it, bro. So when that bad boy comes off,
let's go.
Yeah, you'll see,
dude. And that's what I'm saying, bro. You're one of those actors who's really about it, man. Like you remind me of you know, I feel like we're in this age of social media and movies, and it's kind of strange. Like you want to show the world too much of who you are, and then there's a lot of people who are just about it for the fame. But dude, you're like Al Pacino, you're like De Niro. You know what I'm saying? Like you carry that within yourself, even in your presence, but in your work especially, bro.
Thank you, man.
Like on screen, I'm like, bro, I don't know what he's gonna do. I really don't know if he's gonna freaking stab me with a knife. I don't know. You're so unpredictable. You know what I'm saying? And those are the best actors that I enjoy watching on screen because I don't know what you're gonna do next.
Man, you got me blushing, bro. Thank you, man. Ya quedamos. Okay. El lunch is on me.
All right, before we wrap this up, obviously it's the last season of Umbrella Academy. What's one of those memories that's like that you're gonna cherish forever from the set, or what's something that you'll always be able to carry from that set, whether it's a lesson or a memory or something that you're always gonna walk away from and be like, man, I'm gonna carry that with me forever.
I think one of the biggest things that I learned from like season 1 all the way to season 4 is that, you know, when you show up to a set and you're like you're new and you don't really understand what's going on because everyone is coming from different facets. Like I had no idea who Emmy Raver Lampin was. I had no idea who Tom Hopper were, Rob Sheehan, Elliot Page. I didn't know who Aiden Gallagher was or Ritu Arya. And when they, you know, and I remember we were like 2 weeks into rehearsal in season 1 and before we started shooting the first episode. Actually, no, I take it back. We had shot the first episode and then we had a 3-week break. And then we were going to come back and finish the last 9 episodes. But in that 3-week break, I called my manager and I said, I want off the show. He's like, I don't want to be on the show anymore. And he was like, why? What's going on? And I was like, I hate this. I don't want to be here. He's like, take a break, take a break, take a break. He's like, was it that bad? We're like, what happened? And I was like, I don't belong here. Like this is not, because I wanted immersion and not almost like immersion, like, oh, I need to be like, but I wanted to be best friends with all of them. And I didn't know how to because everyone came from different continents. And I didn't even think about that. Yeah, everyone came from, think about it, Irish, British, 2 British, Canadian, Mexican, you know, Emmy's obviously from the US. But you have, you know, you have this sort of a desperate need to connect. And my manager's like, think about it this way. He said, everyone has made it. Like everyone is so successful and you're just getting started. So think about it that. Like imagine where you're going to go now, you know, because, you know, Elliot, Oscar nominated, Emmy had done, you know, obviously Hamilton, Tom Hopper, Game of Thrones, Rob Sheehan, Misfit. You know what I mean? Like you talk about bangers, you know, and I'm coming from fucking, I don't know, testing 5 times and not getting a single one, you know?
You come from the barrio.
Yeah, from the barrio, dog, you know? And so,
from Sinaloa.
Dog, so then, you know, and so he was like, just give it a little bit of time. And I did. And what happened was throughout the years, and this goes to like patience and the surrendering aspect and the fact that like this is how deep bonds are formed, which is like you don't want things to be a bottle rocket. You want things to be like a slow flame that just takes a while to burn. And so now, this is why we go back to the high school reunion thing, or sorry, but like the high school graduation thing, because now all of these people are family. You know, and and I'm sure you had the same thing with your castmates, right? Yeah. But because we were sort of in our late 20s, early 30s, it's a different thing. You know, you're not just like mid 20s. You're like, oh, we're all best friends. It's like, no, everyone has their own lives. And now I feel a deep bond with all of them, you know, and I can only relate it to like, if I ever saw them in an alley and they needed help with anything, I would be the first one to be like, I'm there, you know? Obviously, they'd have to call me. I can't think of it. But that's sort of the thing that I learned, man. It was like, you know, deep bonds don't grow in like a second, you know. I mean, I'm sure they can, but
no, of course.
The best ones take time.
Dude, of course, man. Well, I'm sure the world's super excited to see the new season of The Boys. It's an incredible show. I mean, it's such a powerful
The Boys?
What? What do you mean?
What do you mean? What's that?
The Boys. Oh fuck, bro! I'm so sorry.
Wait, we've been doing an hour and a half.
No, chat, I knew, bro. I swear, I knew.
You knew what?
I knew. No, it's Umbrella Academy, but
what?
Bro, no, I swear it's not like that. I thought it was. I've been watching The Boys.
Did you do your homework?
It's just because
you know my name.
It took so long for Umbrella Academy to come out. I've been watching The Boys.
Robert, why are you doing this to me right now, dude? We've been talking for an hour and a half.
I'm sorry, bro. Really, I'm sorry. I don't have to I can cut this out, bro. I swear.
I don't know, man. It's
not. Hey, that's acting right there, ladies and gentlemen. This is an incredible actor. Dave, before I let you go, anything you want to tell the audience as far as like a message to your younger self, to the young buck watching this, or young girl watching this, a message for them watching this?
Thanks for watching. You know, I appreciate the support and you guys taking the time to just listen to this, and hopefully any of these things you can sort of see yourself in. And if you don't, maybe some of your friends can see themselves in it. I don't know. But I hope you guys enjoy the last season of Umbrella.
Choo, let's go. Choo. Season 4. And I'm going to that party too. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, better come.
I'll be there, bro.
Everyone's invited.
All right, guys. Gracias. All right, guys. Adios.